Hi everyone, welcome back to another Reddit cheating story. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button and notification bell if you love to watch more cheating stories. If you want to know how to get back your ex-girlfriend and boyfriend, click the link below.
My ex-fiancé has been deceiving me for months. TLDR. My ex-fiancé admitted having sex with her closest friend and ended our relationship. That was after a severe 3-year relationship with her and numerous promises. And what makes me sad and angry is that I did everything for her, including buying smartphones, food, and paying her bills, as well as loving and doing many romantic things and working hard towards the approaching marriage. The extended version is as follows. Part 1. All of the shifts in behavior began around the conclusion of last year. Before then, I recall her being really in love with me and making pledges to love me, which continued after that but much less frequently, and as time progressed, it became increasingly less frequent. She wanted to throw a Halloween party for her friends, which was unusual because she had never done anything like that before. Unfortunately, I couldn't participate since I had to work. I texted her while awake and received only a few responses. The following day, I saw she was online late and without texting me, which had never happened before. I texted her, and she replied a few minutes later, so I called her and asked what happened during the party and night. She said all her friends slept there, which worried me because she takes medicine to sleep and can be vulnerable, but she said they were her friends, and I shouldn't worry because her friends were all males and bisexual, but they preferred men over women, in her words. When I asked her mother, the house owner, how things were going, she said she went to take a look early in the night but later fell asleep. Still, she mentioned alcohol at the party, which was strange because I had already spoken with her several times, and she said she had stopped drinking alcohol. Note 1. I mentioned why. After that, I spoke with her again and insisted, and she admitted having tried a little alcohol. Note. I say, friends, since these people were not present when anything horrible happened and sought to help her. Instead, they constantly influenced her for evil things. Part 2. Then, I observed she began to converse with one of her friends more. We used to take each other's phones until December or January of this year, and we didn't mind looking at them. While I was attempting to assist her in all aspects of her life, I was also paying for her to work out at a gym. That friend began working out at the same time and place, and he even drove to her house to go to the gym with her and then have lunch together. She claimed that she went to his home to learn music after a few weeks. She told me she was going there 2 weeks later. I discovered it was a party with numerous friends, who were all drinking heavily and using marijuana, weed, cannabis, and cigarettes. So, at first, I didn't recognize the party. Nevertheless, after receiving no response to my messages, I attempted to contact her. After 3 or 4 attempts, I got her to talk strangely and refused to answer my questions, and she hung up the phone conversation. I spoke with her mother and obtained 2 phone numbers for those friends, one of which is the gym buddy I mentioned earlier. We couldn't get anyone to answer the phone or respond to our messages, but we did see that they were visualizing the messages we sent. Then her mother went to a nearby location. I live pretty far away from my ex-fiancé, and discovered her inebriated. Later that night, she told several versions of the story, and I phoned the 2 buddies, who gave their accounts of what transpired. At the very least, she admitted to smoking pot and becoming intoxicated due to the booze. Her mother and I were both disappointed that she was inebriated. She lied to her mother about several aspects of the party, including the cannabis, and that she vomited and bathed there. One of the more bizarre differences between the versions is this bath. She claimed that her companion was often in the bathroom, assisting her. However, when I inquired about the tub, she stated she abruptly changed her story and claimed she was inebriated. Her mother contacted those friends and requested that they not revisit her house, except for the gym friend. Part 3. After a few months, her conduct changed dramatically, even when I asked her to chat and whether she had feelings for another person, and so on. During these minutes, I observed she was doing things I had never seen her do before, such as omitting images shot and emptying the phone garbage. She also began using anonymous tabs on her phone to avoid leaving any trace, which was a change. I saw she referred to her gym buddy as her best friend, and there was a heart next to it. She said that she did so because she loves her friend, but not in the same way she loves me, and that she would always love me and that I was her greatest love. Throughout the months, I also learned from our conversations that she was still practicing music twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, at her best friend's house. Also, after I questioned her multiple times, she admitted to smoking a cigarette that night and even stealing a vaporizer from a brother. During this visit, she also mentioned that her closest friend told her that he loved her, and she felt something in her heart. And I said to her that we committed to being monogamous and love each other and that we should prioritize our relationship over other people. Well, she broke up with me a few weeks ago and told me she had sex with her best friend. Then she changed her mind and said she wanted to drink and party and have many sexual partners, and that was it. It was extremely cold messages, and she didn't even call me or look me in the eyes. Part 4. Her mother urged me to call the following day since her daughter claimed that I was the one who broke up with her for no reason. I told her that was a lie, one of many her daughter was hiding from her, and she didn't believe me. I had asked her mother several times in recent months if she had seen any changes in her daughter's conduct or any suspicions of cheating, and her mother insisted it was all in my head. Then I contacted my ex-kid fiancé and recorded her stating that over the phone. After 2 days, her mother suggested that she may have said anything because she was angry, but the fiancé's voice was very calm during the call. So, despite her mother's repeated requests for me to call her again because her daughter was feeling better that day, my ex-fiancé said the same thing. Her mother apologized and stopped insisting because she came back to me the next day and requested me to attempt to talk to her and repair the relationship. I again mentioned that my trust in her was damaged after the adultery, and I am unfortunate and upset because I did everything for her, sacrificing many other things. I told her mother that I would block her because I couldn't recuperate in this manner. Note from my psychologist regarding the cheating. 1. Because I hadn't seen my fiancé in a long time, my psychologist asked if I actually knew her, and after learning this, I responded no, trusting solely on her word. In addition, my psychologist advised that I should seriously consider breaking up with or not dating someone with an adverse family history. In my ex-fiancé's family, there were several instances of men and women cheating. Her mother also had only a few boyfriends. None of them were long-term. Her grandma, too, had 3 boyfriends at once. So, according to my psychologist, my ex-fiancé lacks a meaningful relationship role model, and I should not assume that someone is the exception because the reverse is far more likely. Expressing my point of view, I ultimately feel it is not my fault. I know I did everything I could for her without receiving anything in return, not even emotional or financial help, e.g., my father died last month. I considered asking her to refrain from going to the gym and other activities with that friend, but she may lie. Another thing my mother said, and others later confirmed, was that it was a blessing from God that I didn't marry her since it is much easier and the anguish is less. I'm not sure if the pain is lessening, but I'm experiencing many feelings that I don't want to be sharing, and I'd like to find a means to stop. I've been doing meditation, 20 minutes, for the past few days, and I've also started doing some exercises. But my feelings are there, and I occasionally feel angry at her for her humiliating decisions. Still, I try to ignore them and focus on forgiveness, not allowing my heart to be drowned in the venom of hatred. Another thing I've noticed about myself is that when I love someone, I tend to trust them a lot. But, at the same time, I feel awful about acting in a way that isn't based on trust. Also, during a recent conversation I had with my ex-fiancé's mother, I realized how many times we both heard lies from her and believed them, but the only problem that bothers me is that her mother is still not wholly convinced. I think her mother refuses to accept the reality that her daughter did that. Just a thought. I find it difficult to believe that people can lie so much about love promises. I understand that the root cause is those who lack morals and ethics, but it can be difficult to recognize who lacks morals and ethics. Even when we do, it can be challenging to remember who lacks morals and ethics because we may have fallen so deeply in love that we lack good judgment, and we may ignore or believe the person is an exception. Note 1. The account contains numerous details, such as the man she loved as a father committed suicide after suffering from alcoholism for the past 10 years, prompting her to try suicide herself 2 years ago. If someone wants, I can modify the post and add the details. However, most of the main cheating points will be in my initial position. Note 2. It is pretty tricky for me to write this. I've tried to talk about brachytherapy multiple times, and I just started a weekly session with a psychologist. Here is the most excellent advice for this beautiful article that I gathered. Learn how to be a caregiver, not a savior, and a knight on a white horse. People who give without taking attract people who take without giving. You don't pay their bills, maintain their car, rent, or look after their children. Hopefully, you realize that a relationship is a two-way street and that putting someone on a pedestal is unfair and causes them to lose respect for you. Your actions in the relationship were unhealthy and encouraged her bad habits. Seek counseling to figure out why you're acting this way. Another case of cheating. So I had been married for 18 years, had 3 beautiful children, a large, gorgeous home, and was financially secure. My wife desired to be a stay-at-home mom, and my career allowed her to do so. We needed some electrical work done on the house 7 years ago, and she recommended a guy from school whose father and him did side work and gave me a reasonable bargain. He was pretty professional with me when he came over to do the job, and my wife and I talked about folks they went to school with and what they are doing today. She wasn't flirting with him or anything, just having a regular chat with him. I didn't have anything to worry about because he wasn't beautiful, didn't have a pleasant attitude, and always talked about gaming and how he had moved back in with his parents because he couldn't hold down a job, not a person my wife would be attracted to. Anyway, 2 years later, I learned that my wife was pregnant with an AITA. The warning signs were there, but we refused to believe them, as we survivors know. Changing her passcode was a significant red flag, and when I inquired why, she replied the kids kept getting her phone. Okay, I can buy that, and she gave me her code, but then always had it on her after that. So, on DD, she left it on the coffee table, and my suspicions got the better of me and I went through her phone, where I discovered the messages. I had no idea who this guy was at first. All I knew was that they were conversing and had been for a while. Everything went to hell when she stepped out of the room and saw me on her phone. When I asked her to tell me what was going on, she refused. I said no and locked myself in a room so I could read what was going on when she wanted her phone back and told me not to read the messages. Because she got on the computer and removed the F-flat message, I only got to see a portion of the thread. Man, I was pissed. Okay, this story is dragging on, but she came clean, trick truth, like a toothache, and they had an AITA and a PA, to cut a long story short. For 2 years, I asked who this guy was, and she said it was the electrician who completed our job. I had completely forgotten about him, and I was like, wait, you chose him to cheat on me with? Why don't you update your SAW if you're going to cheat on it? She has never had a better father, spouse, or lover than me. So here I am, 5 years later, still pondering what I could have done differently, what was wrong with me, and what he had that I didn't. I often think that if I were to cheat on the person I care about the most, she had better be the bee's knees. Here is the most excellent advice for this beautiful article that I gathered. The majority of cheaters have an affair down, really it's prevalent. Your worldview is equally widespread, and fatally faulty. You believe her affair sprang from the fact that you were lousy at something, and he was good at it. The truth is that nothing you did or didn't do contributed to it happening. The issue is with her, not with you. Or did you stay with a cheater who had no remorse? They've scaled back their affair because they don't require the complete package. So you're in charge of everything, and the app is simply in the amount of excitement. As a result, they aren't on the lookout for a replacement. They don't think about every facet of the connection, even if it's an exit affair. They only focus on the extra they're getting. It's a supplement to your relationship. It was never intended to take your place of you. You could be flawless in every manner, but the grass is always greener on the other side, and someone will cheat. I don't think it has anything to do with you. Most of the time, it's just a problem with them. And that defect, those desires for them to do so, are rarely satisfied. They keep looking for a greener field and improving their concealment skills. The cheater has 100 options to choose from for cheating, lying, and betrayal. They may believe it is justified because you left the toilet seat up, or because you work long hours, allowing them to be a stay-at-home parent, or because they take you for granted. Faux outrage is a deception technique used to make you feel bad about checking. She stayed by your side because you were a wonderful spouse, father, and provider. She's well aware that you're bringing far more than she is, so you'd think she'd work hard to earn your respect and strive to be the best wife and mother she can be, right? You have to love her because you're her spouse, but that guy had to have her even though she was married. It's an ego boost, and the new relational vigor is addictive. It makes no sense to the loyal, to the truly dedicated spouses. You'd think that having an incredible life partner would make them less prone to cheat, but that's not how their brains function. Thank you for taking the time to watch. Please tell me what you think. Don't forget to subscribe and press the notification button. Keep an eye out for more cheating stories.